Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most challenging things in life is staying quiet after you've been disrespected. Our instinct is often to defend ourselves, to fight back, and to make the other person aware that they have crossed a line. However, it's important to understand that strength doesn't always manifest through the loudest voice in the room. True strength is found in control. When someone disrespects you, they are trying to bring you down to their level. They want you to react, to respond with anger, frustration, or even rage, because that is when they can control you. But when you stay quiet, when you refuse to give them the reaction they want, you are in control. You hold on to your power. The power of restraint is one of the most underrated strengths a person can have. It is often mistaken for weakness when, in fact, it requires immense inner strength to remain composed in situations where the natural instinct is to retaliate. In a world where emotions often take over, the ability to control one's reactions is a sign of significant personal growth and maturity. Restraint involves the ability to step back, to reflect, and to respond intentionally, rather than letting impulse guide your actions when provoked. In moments of disrespect, the temptation to lash out or defend oneself is overwhelming. When someone speaks to us in a degrading manner or undermines our efforts, our ego demands validation. We want to show them that we will not be disrespected and that we deserve respect. This is a natural, human response. After all, no one enjoys being belittled. However, when we react impulsively, driven by emotion, we often lose sight of the bigger picture. In those moments, we give control of our behavior to the very person who disrespected us. They become the ones pulling the strings of our reactions. True strength lies in the ability to restrain that immediate impulse. It's about realizing that not every attack warrants a response. When you practice restraint, you show that you are not easily shaken, that you are grounded in who you are, and that you don't need external validation. This doesn't mean you are ignoring the disrespect, but rather you are choosing a different path. It's the path of wisdom and foresight. You understand that reacting in the heat of the moment often leads to regret and deeper conflict. By holding back, you allow yourself the space to assess the situation and to determine the best course of action, if any action is required at all. Restraint also gives you an advantage in social dynamics. When someone disrespects you, they expect a certain reaction from you. They are trying to provoke an emotional response. But when you stay calm and composed, you disrupt their expectations. Rather than feeding into their negativity, you maintain control over the situation. This kind of restraint disarms the other person, leaving them uncertain and sometimes even frustrated because they can't manipulate your emotions. You maintain the upper hand, not through aggression or force, but through sheer control over your own emotions. It takes practice to develop the ability to pause when provoked. For most people, the natural response is to react immediately and emotionally. However, restraint requires that you pause, take a breath, and think before acting. This level of self-discipline doesn't develop overnight. It's built over time through conscious effort and self-awareness. It requires you to be aware of your emotions and to recognize when those emotions are beginning to rise. It's about being able to spot the physical and mental signs of anger, frustration, or hurt, and using that awareness to guide your actions in a more constructive direction. Practicing restraint offers long-term benefits for your emotional and mental well-being. Constantly reacting to disrespect or negativity drains your energy. It keeps you in a perpetual state of defense, where your emotional stability becomes dependent on the actions of others. When you practice restraint, however, you regain control over your emotional state. You become less susceptible to the actions and words of others. Rather than allowing external factors to dictate how you feel, you develop emotional resilience. Over time, you'll find that things which once angered or upset you no longer have the same effect. You become more composed, more centered, and less reactive. Restraint is a form of emotional intelligence. It shows that you are aware of the emotions at play, not just your own, but also those of the person disrespecting you. When someone acts out of anger, frustration, or insecurity, they may lash out as a way of releasing their own tension. By staying calm, you're not only protecting your own peace of mind, but you're also avoiding escalating the situation. Emotional intelligence allows you to see beyond the surface of the interaction and to understand the deeper issues that may be motivating the disrespect. This understanding can lead to more compassionate responses, or, at the very least, the decision not to add fuel to the fire. Strength also plays a role in shaping your reputation. People who react impulsively, who are quick to anger or retaliation, often develop a reputation for being hot-headed or difficult to deal with. On the other hand, those who demonstrate self-control and composure are often seen as leaders, individuals who can be relied upon in intense situations. They are the ones others look to for guidance because they remain calm under pressure. The ability to restrain oneself in the face of disrespect earns respect in return, not only from the person who disrespected you, but also from everyone else who witnesses your composure. Control over your reactions is a crucial element of emotional intelligence. It plays a significant role in how we handle disrespect. When faced with situations where we are belittled or insulted, the urge to react immediately is strong. Our minds and bodies are wired to defend ourselves and to protect our dignity. But the way we respond in these moments can have lasting consequences, both for our own peace of mind and for our relationships with others. Learning to control our reactions means taking charge of our emotions, assessing the situation from a place of calm, and responding in a way that reflects our values, not just our immediate feelings. The challenge of controlling your reaction is that it requires you to pause. Most reactions to disrespect are driven by emotions like anger, frustration, or hurt, which demand immediate expression. But by reacting quickly and without thought, you risk escalating the situation, saying things you don't mean, or causing more harm than necessary. A quick emotional response often lacks perspective. It is based on the heat of the moment, not on the full picture of what's happening or the possible consequences of your words or actions. When you control your reaction, you're not suppressing your emotions, rather, you're managing them. Emotional control is about acknowledging how you feel without allowing those feelings to dictate your behavior. It's about taking a mental step back, even for just a few seconds, and considering, what is the best way to respond here? Is this reaction going to serve me in the long term? By doing so, you ensure that your actions align with who you are, rather than being driven by fleeting emotions. A key part of controlling your reaction is understanding the difference between responding and reacting. A reaction is often immediate, driven by impulse, and fueled by raw emotion. It's unfiltered and often defensive. In contrast, a response is measured, thoughtful, and considers the consequences. A response doesn't mean ignoring the disrespect or being passive in the face of mistreatment. It means choosing how to engage with the focus on preserving your integrity and well-being. By controlling your reaction, you transition from being reactive to being responsive, which is a far more powerful position to be in. When someone disrespects you, they are often seeking a reaction. Their words or actions are designed to provoke, to trigger you into a defensive or angry outburst. By controlling your reaction, you deny them that satisfaction. This shift in dynamics is crucial because it allows you to remain in control of the situation. When you react out of emotion, you hand over control to the other person. They dictate the direction of the interaction. But when you take a moment to breathe, to assess, and to respond with calm, you shift the power balance back in your favor. You are no longer being led by the disrespectful behavior of another, you are leading the conversation on your own terms. One of the greatest advantages of controlling your reaction is that it prevents escalation. Disrespect can quickly turn into a heated argument or even a full-blown conflict if both parties react emotionally. By controlling your reaction, you create space for de-escalation. You signal that you are not interested in confrontation and that you will not be dragged into unnecessary conflict. This approach not only protects your peace of mind, but also prevents damage to relationships or reputations. Controlling your reaction also sends a powerful message of maturity and strength. It shows that you can handle difficult situations without being ruled by your emotions. This doesn't mean you are indifferent or uncaring. It means that you prioritize thoughtful responses over impulsive reactions. In both professional and personal settings, this kind of self-control can earn you the respect of others. People notice when someone remains calm under pressure, and they often look up to those who can manage their emotions effectively. In contrast, individuals who frequently react impulsively to disrespect may be viewed as volatile or difficult to work with. Controlling your reaction allows you to focus on what truly matters. Disrespect, while hurtful, is often a distraction from your larger goals and purposes. When you give in to emotional reactions, you lose sight of the bigger picture. You spend energy on something that ultimately doesn't serve your long-term interests. By controlling your reaction, you can stay focused on your priorities. You don't allow a single moment of disrespect to derail your progress or pull you off course. This is especially important in environments like the workplace, where maintaining professionalism and focus is key to success. Reacting emotionally to every slight or insult can be exhausting. It drains you mentally and emotionally, leaving you feeling depleted and often regretful. However, by controlling your reaction, you conserve that energy. You choose where to direct your focus, and you don't let every act of disrespect pull you into a negative emotional space. Over time, this approach builds emotional resilience, making it easier for you to navigate difficult situations without being overwhelmed by them. It's important to recognize that controlling your reaction doesn't mean you never address the disrespect. It means that you choose when and how to address it in a manner that aligns with your values and desired outcomes. Sometimes the best response is silence. Other times it may be a calm conversation where you assert your boundaries. The key is that you're not letting the other person's disrespect dictate your response. You are making a conscious decision about how to proceed based on what is best for you, rather than reacting purely out of emotion. Self-respect is the foundation of how you navigate the world, and it plays a critical role in how you respond to disrespect. When someone disrespects you, it can feel like an attack on your worth or dignity. The natural inclination is to defend yourself or retaliate. But true self-respect means understanding that your value is not diminished by someone else's behavior. It means recognizing that how you respond to disrespect speaks more about your character than the disrespect itself. Self-respect is not about letting people walk over you, but about refusing to be dragged into negativity or destructive behavior that undermines your sense of self-worth. When you respect yourself, you understand that your worth is inherent. It cannot be taken away or undermined by someone else's actions or words. Disrespect from others can sting, but it does not define who you are. Your identity, your value, and your dignity come from within, not from external validation. In fact, disrespect often reveals more about the person delivering it than the one receiving it. When you internalize the truth of your own self-worth, it becomes much easier to stay grounded in your sense of value, even when facing disrespect. Self-respect is also about knowing when it's time to walk away from negative encounters. When you remain silent after being disrespected, it's not about submission, it's about self-preservation. You're choosing not to engage in a confrontation that would only drain your energy and divert you from your true goals. In moments of disrespect, your silence can become your greatest form of defense. It sends a powerful message that you value yourself too much to waste time with someone who doesn't see your worth. It communicates, I know who I am, and I won't lower myself to your level. Respecting yourself means recognizing your boundaries and standing firm in them. Disrespect is often a violation of these boundaries, and while asserting them is important, doing so doesn't always require a verbal reaction. Sometimes the most effective way to uphold your boundaries is by walking away, refusing to take part in a toxic exchange. This doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, it means refusing to let someone else's behavior determine your emotional state. You are choosing not to let their negativity become yours. A key part of self-respect is being able to manage your emotions, especially in challenging situations. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to feel angry, hurt, or defensive. However, when you respect yourself, you realize that reacting emotionally often causes more harm than good. It can lead to impulsive actions, regretful words, and escalating conflicts. Self-respect involves stepping back, breathing, and taking a moment to think calmly about the situation. You ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will reacting make me feel better, or will it pull me into a negative space? Most often, the answer is that staying quiet, maintaining your composure, and moving on will serve you far better in the long run. Self-respect also involves choosing your battles based on your values. Sometimes standing up for yourself does require a direct response, but not every slight or insult deserves your attention. By respecting yourself, you become selective about where you invest your energy. You don't allow minor disrespect to derail your focus or drag you into unnecessary conflict. Instead, you conserve your energy for situations that truly matter, for goals and values that align with your sense of purpose. Disrespect can be a distraction, but self-respect helps you decide what's worth addressing and what's better ignored. Furthermore, respecting yourself means practicing forgiveness not necessarily for the person who disrespected you, but for yourself. It's easy to get stuck in thoughts of past disrespect, replaying moments over and over and wishing you had responded differently. But true self-respect involves letting go of those thoughts and offering yourself grace. You recognize that not every situation will be handled perfectly, and that's okay. What matters most is that you continue to carry yourself with dignity, no matter the challenges you face. You forgive yourself for any perceived mistakes and focus on maintaining your self-respect as you move forward. Resilience is another key element of self-respect. Those who respect themselves understand that disrespect is inevitable. It's something everyone experiences at some point. But instead of letting it break them, they use it as a reminder of their own strength. Disrespect can serve as a chance to reaffirm your self-worth. It becomes a test of your ability to remain grounded in your values, to stay calm in the midst of turmoil, and to choose responses that reflect who you truly are. Over time, this resilience builds inner strength, making it easier to navigate future challenges with grace and composure. It's also important to understand that self-respect is contagious. When you carry yourself with dignity and confidence, others will take notice. People who respect themselves tend to command respect from those around them. They set a standard for how they expect to be treated and don't tolerate behavior that falls below that standard. By respecting yourself, you teach others how to treat you. You show them that you won't engage with disrespect or negativity, and over time, this leads to healthier and more respectful relationships. Self-respect is also about long-term well-being. Reacting to every insult or slight can be emotionally draining. It puts you in a constant state of defense, where your peace of mind becomes dependent on how others treat you. But when you respect yourself, you create emotional boundaries that protect your mental and emotional health. You recognize that your well-being is your responsibility, and you won't allow others to control it through their actions or words. You maintain your peace, knowing that your self-worth remains intact, regardless of how others behave. Choosing your battles is one of the most important skills you can develop, especially when dealing with disrespect. Not every insult or slight requires a response, and knowing when to let things go is a sign of emotional intelligence. Engaging with every provocation is not only exhausting, but it also pulls you into unnecessary conflict, distracting you from your bigger goals. Knowing when to confront disrespect and when to move on is a key element of self-control and personal growth. Choosing your battles is based on the idea that not all conflicts deserve your time, energy, or emotional investment. In life, you will encounter people who will test your patience, push your buttons, and disrespect you intentionally or unintentionally. If you were to respond to every instance, you would find yourself constantly defending yourself, overwhelmed with anger or frustration. This approach drains you, leaving little energy for positive interactions or personal development. More importantly, it can divert you from your larger goals and the things that really matter. When you choose your battles carefully, you're not avoiding conflict out of fear or passivity. Instead, you're deciding where your energy is best spent. It's about realizing that not every disrespectful remark or action is worth your attention. Some people deliberately provoke a reaction, trying to drag you into their negativity. By walking away or staying silent, you demonstrate that you value your peace of mind more than engaging in a pointless argument. This decision shows a deep understanding that some battles just aren't worth fighting. A big part of choosing your battles involves assessing the situation's significance. Disrespect can appear in many forms, from a casual, thoughtless comment to a direct personal attack. In every instance, ask yourself, does this really matter in the long run? Will responding improve the situation or just escalate the conflict? More often than not, you'll find that reacting only prolongs the negativity. By choosing to stay calm and composed, you conserve your energy for the situations and interactions that truly deserve your attention. Choosing your battles also involves understanding the motivations behind the disrespect. Sometimes, people act out of their own frustration, pain, or insecurity, and their disrespect is a reflection of their struggles, not a personal attack on you. In such cases, responding with anger or retaliation may only make matters worse. When you take a moment to assess the situation, you give yourself the chance to determine whether the disrespect was intentional or simply a result of someone having a bad day. This perspective can help you decide whether it's worth engaging or if it's better to let it go. When you choose your battles, you demonstrate emotional intelligence and self-restraint. It requires self-awareness to recognize when your emotions are being triggered, and strength to pause and avoid reacting immediately. Emotional intelligence enables you to see past the immediate insult and evaluate the long-term consequences of your response. It helps you assess whether reacting will lead to a positive resolution or just fuel more conflict. In many cases, you'll find that remaining silent or walking away is the wisest option, as it helps prevent the situation from escalating. There's also a practical side to choosing your battles. If you engage in every conflict, you'll spread yourself thin. You only have so much emotional and mental energy each day. If you waste it on trivial matters, you'll find yourself depleted when it comes time to address the issues that truly require your attention. By being selective about your battles, you ensure that you have the focus and energy to tackle the things that really matter. You can direct your efforts toward your work, relationships, and personal growth instead of being distracted by every slight. In any relationship, whether professional, familial, or personal, there will be moments of tension and disagreement. Disrespect may arise from misunderstandings or differences in perspective. If you react to every perceived slight, you risk damaging the relationship over minor issues. However, when you choose your battles, you demonstrate that you value the relationship enough to overlook small disagreements and focus on the bigger picture. This approach fosters healthier, more resilient relationships, as you're not constantly nitpicking or engaging in unnecessary conflict. Choosing your battles doesn't mean you ignore all forms of disrespect. There are times when standing up for yourself and asserting your boundaries is necessary. The key is knowing when those times arise. If the disrespect is repetitive, harmful, or undermines your self-worth, then it's important to address it. In these situations, speaking up is a way to protect yourself and set clear boundaries about how you expect to be treated. Even in these moments, though, it's vital to approach the situation with calmness and clarity. By doing so, you're more likely to resolve the conflict in a constructive way. Sometimes you'll find that some people will never change, no matter how much you try to engage with them or correct their behavior. There are individuals who thrive on conflict and are perpetually disrespectful as a coping mechanism. Engaging with them only leads to a cycle of negativity that benefits no one. In these cases, walking away is the most powerful choice you can make. It sends the message that you refuse to waste your energy on someone who isn't interested in meaningful dialogue or change. Choosing your battles is about prioritizing your peace of mind and personal growth. It's about understanding that not every act of disrespect deserves your attention, and that you have the power to decide where to invest your energy. By making this conscious decision, you protect yourself from unnecessary conflict, preserve your emotional well-being, and focus on the things that truly matter. It's a deliberate choice to rise above negativity and maintain control over your reactions and your path. Through this, you demonstrate strength, maturity, and wisdom, ensuring that your actions reflect the best version of yourself. When we talk about being nice, it's important to recognize how often that word gets misunderstood or misused in relationships. Many times, being nice can mean holding back who you truly are to avoid conflict or to gain someone's approval. But here's the reality: there's a difference between being nice and being genuinely kind or respectful. When you're just being nice to a man, it's often driven by the fear of rejection or the desire to be liked. And what happens? You begin overcompensating. You go out of your way to make him feel comfortable, cater to his needs, and ensure he sees you as agreeable and accommodating. But let me tell you, real lasting connections aren't built on this. They're built on authenticity. Authenticity is about being yourself without apology. It's about showing up as your quirks, preferences, and boundaries intact. Men don't fall in love with someone who never disagrees, never has their own perspective, or never stands up for themselves. They're drawn to women who are confident enough to say, "This is who I am. And I'm not afraid to show you the real me." When you're constantly just being nice, you dilute your essence. You become what you think they want rather than showing them who you really are. Now let's take a moment to consider what happens when you prioritize niceness over respect. It's exhausting, right? You're always wondering if you've said the right thing, if you've done enough to please him, if he's happy with you. And in doing so, you lose sight of your own happiness. Being nice becomes a performance, and sooner or later the mask slips. But here's the truth: respect always trumps niceness. Every time. When you respect yourself enough to be honest, to voice your needs, and to stand your ground, you set the standard for how you want to be treated. Respect is what earns love, not bending over backward to avoid ruffling feathers. This shift in mindset changes how you approach relationships. Instead of trying to win someone's favor by being overly accommodating, you create space for a connection based on mutual appreciation. Men can sense when you're not being genuine. And while they might enjoy the temporary convenience of someone who always agrees with them, they'll eventually crave a deeper, more authentic connection. And that's the kind of connection that lasts. So instead of focusing on being nice, focus on being real. Be honest about what you want, and don't shy away from expressing it. Show that you're confident enough to be yourself, even if it means risking disapproval. Remember, the right man won't be put off by your authenticity, he'll be drawn to it. Authenticity is magnetic, and it has the power to create a bond that niceness never could. Let the real you shine, and watch how the dynamic of your relationships transforms. Let's talk now about the concept of boundaries and why they are absolutely essential in relationships. For some reason, the idea of setting boundaries has been wrongly painted as something negative, as though it's about keeping people out or creating distance. But the truth is, boundaries aren't walls, they're guidelines. They're a way of saying, this is what I need to feel respected, valued, and whole. And the incredible thing is, when you set boundaries, you don't push people away, you draw the right ones closer. Many women fall into the trap of thinking that being boundaryless makes them more lovable, more desirable. They agree to things they don't want to do, overlook behaviors that make them uncomfortable, and tolerate situations that don't align with their values, all in the name of keeping the peace or being seen as low maintenance. But what happens when you do that? You end up teaching others, men in particular, that your needs and feelings are secondary. And once that precedent is set, it becomes harder and harder to break the cycle. Men respect boundaries far more than they respect compliance. When you clearly communicate what you will and will not accept, you're not being difficult, you're being clear. And clarity is powerful. It sends the message that you know your worth and that you won't settle for anything less than you deserve. And here's the truth: the right man will rise to meet those boundaries. The wrong man, he'll push back or walk away. And let me tell you, that's a gift. Because when the wrong man walks away, he makes space for the right man to step in. Setting boundaries also teaches men how to treat you. If you show that you're willing to compromise on your values or your happiness just to make someone else comfortable, you set the precedent that your needs can be disregarded. But when you establish boundaries, you set a new precedent for mutual respect. You're not just demanding respect, you're modeling it. You're showing what it looks like to deeply value yourself. And let's not forget, boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're also about saying yes. Yes to what aligns with your goals, your values, and your vision for your life. Yes to the things that light you up and make you feel empowered. Yes to the kind of love that honors and uplifts you, not the one that diminishes or drains you. When you approach relationships from this place of clarity and confidence, you naturally attract men who are ready and willing to meet you there. Let's talk about authenticity, real, unfiltered authenticity, and why it's such a magnet for respect, love, and admiration in relationships, especially with men. There's often this pressure to show only the parts of yourself that you think would be acceptable or attractive. You put on a smile when you're hurting, you agree with things you don't believe in, you laugh at jokes that don't resonate, and all of this comes from a place of wanting to be liked, of wanting to connect. But what's the cost of that? When you suppress your true self, you create a facade, a version of yourself that isn't completely real. And while that might attract attention in the short term, it doesn't lay the foundation for deep, meaningful relationships. Why? Because what men truly respect and admire isn't perfection, it's truth. It's you standing confidently in who you are, flaws, quirks, and all. That's what draws people in your courage to be unapologetically you. Now here's the challenge. Embracing authenticity means being willing to let go of the fear of rejection. It means understanding that not everyone will appreciate or align with the real you, and that's okay. The right man won't just accept your authenticity, he'll celebrate it. He'll see it as the very thing that sets you apart, the thing that makes you special. And if someone can't meet you at that level, they're not the one for you. And that's a win, not a loss. When you stop trying to fit into molds or meet expectations that don't align with who you truly are, you free yourself. You let go of the exhausting task of pretending and step into the liberating reality of simply being. And that's where your power lies. That's where you become magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because authenticity naturally shines. It's effortless and it's undeniable. So remember this, you don't have to be anyone other than yourself to attract love, respect, and admiration. In fact, the more you lean into who you are, the more you create space for the kind of connection that lasts, not one built on pretense, but on truth. Let your authenticity be your greatest strength, because it's the one thing no one else can replicate. Finally, let's discuss the energy you bring into a relationship. Sometimes in the desire to connect, women overextend themselves. You might find yourself giving and giving, hoping it will be enough to show your worth or make someone stay. But here's the truth, overextending doesn't build respect or love. It often creates the opposite effect. Why? Because the more you pour into someone who hasn't earned it, the more they start to take it for granted. Men respect boundaries, they respect effort, but only when it's reciprocal. When you're constantly bending over backward, neglecting your own needs, it sends the message that you don't value yourself as much as you value them. And whether they realize it consciously or not, it shifts the dynamic. The balance tilts. Instead of partnership, it starts to feel like one person chasing while the other drifts away. Now, this doesn't mean withholding affection or playing games. It's about honoring your own energy. It's about knowing when to lean in and when to step back. You don't need to be the one always initiating, always fixing, always making sure everything runs smoothly. That's not your job. A relationship is a two-way street. And when you allow space for the other person to meet you halfway, it fosters mutual respect. I think of it as even more important to love and be kind to yourself during times of struggle and hardship. When things aren't going well, we often find ourselves being our harshest critics. We judge ourselves, we question our worth, and we begin to believe that we're not good enough. But self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same love and care you would offer a dear friend who's going through a tough time. It's about not beating yourself up for mistakes or failures, but learning from them and growing stronger in the process. The truth is, life is full of ups and downs, and practicing self-compassion helps you stay grounded and resilient no matter what challenges come your way. Learning to love yourself also means setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and they are essential for protecting your emotional, mental, and physical well-being. Without boundaries, we become vulnerable to being drained by others, whether it's through their demands, their expectations, or their disregard for our needs. By setting boundaries, you send a clear message to yourself and to others that your well-being matters. It's about knowing what you will and will not tolerate and standing firm in those decisions without feeling guilty or selfish. When you honor your own boundaries, you teach others to do the same. This doesn't mean shutting people out, but it does mean taking care of yourself first. It's important to remember that self-love is a practice, not a destination. It's something that you work on every day. It's about being consistent with how you treat yourself and the choices you make for your well-being. Sometimes this means saying no to things that don't serve you, even if they seem like opportunities for growth or social connection. Sometimes it means letting go of relationships or situations that are toxic or no longer aligned with your values. And other times it simply means giving yourself the space to rest, recharge, and nurture yourself without guilt. Another key part of self-love is being mindful of the words you speak to yourself. The way you talk to yourself has a huge impact on how you view yourself and how you show up in the world. Negative self-talk, such as calling yourself names or focusing on your flaws, diminishes your confidence and sense of self-worth. On the other hand, positive affirmations and self-encouragement can help build you up, strengthen your self-esteem, and remind you of your value. It's about shifting the narrative in your mind from one of self-doubt to one of self-empowerment. When you start to believe in your worth and affirm, you start to show up differently in life. You stop shrinking or apologizing for who you are, and you begin to own your space, your power, and your brilliance. There's a deep connection between self-love and self-acceptance. You cannot truly love yourself if you are constantly criticizing yourself or wishing you were different. Self-acceptance is about embracing all parts of yourself, even the parts you might not particularly like or that you might want to change. It's about recognizing that you are a work in progress, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Your flaws, mistakes, and imperfections do not diminish your worth. In fact, they make you human. Accepting yourself as you are gives you the freedom to grow without the pressure of needing to be something you're not. Self-love also means forgiving yourself. Holding on to past mistakes, regrets, and guilt only holds you back from moving forward. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you forget what happened or that you condone your actions. It simply means you let go of the weight of the past and give yourself the permission to move on. You allow yourself to heal, learn from your experiences, and become a better version of yourself. When you forgive yourself, you release the chains that keep you stuck in negative cycles and open the door to new opportunities and growth. As you embrace the practice of self-love, you also learn to be more authentic. You stop pretending to be someone you're not or hiding parts of yourself out of fear of judgment. You become more honest with yourself and others, which leads to deeper and more meaningful connections. When you show up authentically, you create space for others to do the same. Authenticity breeds trust, and trust forms the foundation of strong, healthy relationships. It's also important to remember that self-love doesn't mean isolating yourself or focusing solely on your own needs at the expense of others. True self-love involves balance. It's about caring for yourself while also being compassionate towards others. It's about knowing when to say yes and when to say no. It's about recognizing that by taking care of your own needs first, you are better able to show up for others in a meaningful and supportive way. As you continue on your journey of self-love, you will notice a shift in how you view the world and how the world views you. When you start to value yourself and your worth, others will begin to recognize that as well. People will treat you with more respect, admiration, and kindness because you are modeling the behavior you expect from them. The energy you put out into the world will return to you in ways that reflect your inner strength and confidence. But this is a gradual process. Don't expect instant results. It takes time to change old patterns of self-doubt and insecurity. Be patient with yourself and trust the process. The more you practice self-love, the more natural it will become. Over time, you'll find that you no longer seek validation from others or feel the need to prove yourself. You'll have a deep knowing that you are enough just as you are. In closing, let me say this: self-love is the foundation of everything. It's the key to living a life of peace, confidence, and fulfillment. When you love yourself, you are able to create boundaries that protect your energy, attract the right people into your life, and step into your full potential. You no longer seek approval from others because you know your worth. You stop apologizing for who you are and start celebrating your uniqueness. And when you do that, the world begins to reflect back to you the love, respect, and joy that you give to yourself. Remember, you are worthy. You are enough. And when you truly embrace and love yourself, everything else in your life will begin to align. Keep standing tall in who you are, and don't let anything or anyone dim your light. Your energy is precious, and you have every right to protect it. So own your worth, honor your boundaries, and live unapologetically. The world needs you to show up as the authentic, powerful, and beautiful woman you were always meant to be. And once you do that, you'll find that you not only transform your own life, but you'll inspire others to do the same. You are deserving of love, respect, and everything good that comes your way. Keep going, and always remember the best thing you can do for yourself is to love yourself fiercely and without apology. You've got this. When life throws you a curveball, self-love means being gentle and understanding with yourself during tough times, offering yourself the same kind of compassion you would give to a friend. Instead of being hard on yourself, you choose to lift yourself up, knowing that mistakes are part of growth. When you stumble, you rise again, treating yourself with the same kindness that you would extend to someone else in their time of need. Self-love also means carving out time for yourself, taking care of your physical, mental, and emotional health. It includes making time for rest, doing activities that bring you joy, and giving yourself the space to heal when necessary. It's about building habits that nourish your body and soul, whether that's eating healthy, exercising regularly, or simply engaging in things that make you feel alive. Self-love means prioritizing yourself without feeling guilty, recognizing that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. Self-love is also about setting boundaries that safeguard your peace. It's knowing when to say no, when to walk away, and when to stand firm in your choices. When you truly love yourself, you stop allowing people, situations, or circumstances to drain your energy. You begin to recognize that your time, emotions, and space are valuable, and you no longer tolerate anything or anyone that doesn't align with your self-respect. When you love yourself, you give yourself permission to ask for what you need. You stop playing small, stop settling for less than you deserve, and start expecting more from yourself and from others. This is where true transformation happens. You begin to see yourself as worthy of all the good things life has to offer. As a result, you start attracting people, experiences, and opportunities that reflect that same respect and value. The more you love yourself, the more you elevate your standards. This applies not only to your relationships, but also to your career, friendships, and every aspect of your life. Self-love is the key to creating a future filled with fulfillment, joy, and success. In the end, self-love is the foundation upon which everything else is built. It will carry you through both the highs and the lows, the moments of doubt and the moments of celebration. It will empower you to live a life that is true to your heart, your values, and your deepest desires. Embrace it, practice it, and watch how it transforms your life in ways you never imagined. When we discuss learning to set boundaries, we are addressing one of the most vital skills in maintaining emotional health and protecting your peace. It's easy to get caught up in the expectations of others, the pressures of society, and the demands placed on us by our relationships, both personal and professional. However, boundaries are not just about saying no to others, they are about saying yes to yourself. They are about prioritizing your well-being and ensuring that you are not constantly drained by other people's needs, wants, and behaviors. Setting boundaries is a way of showing yourself the respect that you deserve. At its core, setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It means understanding your limits and protecting them without feeling guilty. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that we should always put others first, that we should always be available, helpful, and accommodating. But when we neglect our own needs and boundaries, we begin to feel resentful, exhausted, and sometimes even invisible. Setting boundaries helps prevent burnout, frustration, and unhealthy relationships. It's about reclaiming your time, your space, and your energy. Boundaries also empower you to take control of your life instead of allowing circumstances, other people, or external pressures to dictate your actions. You assert what is acceptable and what is not. This process may be uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to people pleasing or constantly saying yes, but with practice, it becomes easier. What's even more powerful is that when you learn to set boundaries with others, you teach them how to treat you. When you say no to something that doesn't serve you or align with your values, you are telling people that your time and energy are valuable. There's also a deeper aspect of setting boundaries in relationships, especially romantic ones. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Part of that respect involves recognizing and honoring each other's boundaries. If you're constantly compromising, overextending, or ignoring your own needs to please someone else, you're creating an imbalance. Healthy relationships thrive when both individuals are able to express their needs and respect each other's limits. When you set boundaries in relationships, you create an environment where both parties feel heard, valued, and cared for. It's important to remember that boundaries don't just apply to others, they apply to you as well. Setting boundaries with yourself is just as essential. This could mean not allowing negative self-talk, choosing to prioritize your health over distractions, or setting limits on how much time you spend on activities that drain you. Boundaries with yourself help you stay aligned with your values and goals. They ensure that you're not sabotaging your own success or peace by engaging in habits, thoughts, or behaviors that hold you back. In practice, setting boundaries can take many forms: physical, emotional, mental, and even digital. Perhaps it's setting a time limit on how much you give to others, or deciding not to engage in conversations that bring you down. Maybe it's stepping back from people or environments that drain you, or committing to protect your mental health by limiting exposure to negativity. Whatever it looks like, boundaries are necessary for creating balance and living a life that aligns with your true self. Ultimately, setting boundaries is a powerful act of self-love. It allows you to protect your energy, honor your needs, and build relationships that are supportive, balanced, and nurturing. When you set boundaries, you create space for growth, peace, and joy to thrive. It's a step toward taking ownership of your life, your choices, and your path. So don't be afraid to say no when necessary. Don't hesitate to draw a line in the sand. Remember, the more you respect yourself and your boundaries, the more others will too. In that space, you'll find the strength to live the life you truly deserve. Self-worth is not something that comes from the outside world. It's something you must nurture from within. It's easy to get caught up in what others think of us or what we believe others expect from us. However, true self-worth comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for, not from seeking validation or approval from others. The more you align your actions with your values, the more you begin to see your own worth. When you have a solid sense of self-worth, it empowers you to make decisions that are in your best interest, not out of fear, obligation, or the need to please others. The journey to building self-worth starts with acceptance of who you are, flaws and all. Too often, we are conditioned to believe we have to be perfect or meet certain standards to be worthy, but the truth is that you are worthy exactly as you are. Embracing your imperfections, acknowledging your past mistakes, and forgiving yourself for them is essential in the process of reclaiming your worth. Your mistakes do not define you, your capacity to learn from them and grow does. Every step you take toward accepting yourself is a step toward more confidence, clarity, and empowerment in your life. Building self-worth also involves practicing self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself, to criticize or judge yourself for not being perfect, but that mindset only holds you back. When you show yourself compassion, you offer yourself the kindness and care that you would give to a close friend. This kindness creates a foundation for a more positive and balanced relationship with yourself. When you treat yourself with compassion, you allow yourself the space to make mistakes, to learn, and to evolve without fear of judgment. Another important aspect of self-worth is setting boundaries. Knowing what is and isn't acceptable in your life is a direct reflection of how much you value yourself. When you allow others to treat you in ways that aren't aligned with your sense of self-worth, you are telling yourself that you don't value yourself enough to stand up for what you deserve. Setting healthy boundaries helps you reinforce your worth and protect your peace. It's an act of self-respect that benefits you, and it also teaches others how to treat you with respect. Self-worth is not only about what you accept in your relationships or interactions with others, it's also about what you're willing to accept within yourself. It's about consistently raising the standard for your own life, your habits, and your choices. The better you understand your own value, the less likely you are to settle for anything less than you deserve. You will start prioritizing your goals, your health, and your happiness, knowing that these things are non-negotiable. The path to fully embracing your worth involves a daily commitment. It's not something that happens overnight. It requires self-reflection, self-care, and the courage to step into your power. But the more you invest in yourself, the more you will see your self-worth reflected in your experiences. You will attract people who respect and value you because you respect and value yourself. You will make decisions that align with your purpose and your highest good because you know you are deserving of the best. In the end, your self-worth is the foundation of your life. It determines how you show up in the world, how you allow others to treat you, and how you navigate challenges and opportunities. When you truly believe in your worth, nothing can shake your confidence. You become unstoppable, no longer waiting for external validation, but instead creating a life that reflects your inner strength and self-respect. So let today be the day you decide to fully embrace your worth, because you are more than enough.